And welcome to the meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. I'm calling the meeting to order, and I invite everybody to rise and join Council in O Canada. We acknowledge that we're meeting on treaty lands rich in traditions of First Nations, and we appreciate the stewardship of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We have regrets this evening from Councillor Sanju. Council, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Oh, and regrets from Councillor Grant. And I've noticed a couple of councillors with the sniffles, so maybe something is going around. I see no declarations of pecuniary interest, Madam Clerk. Council, can I have a mover and seconder for the minutes of the previous council meetings as listed in the agenda? Councillor Duddick and Councillor Giddings, all in favor? Opposed, if any, and the minutes are adopted as presented. There are no public presentations listed for this agenda, but we do have delegations. Sorry about that. We do have delegations from Ted Hogan, who's president of the West River Residents Association, representing the group We Love Oakville Stop Amalgamation. Mr. Hogan, council looks forward to your information.
Right now?
Right now.
May as well get it out of the way early. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm president of the West River Residents Association and speaking tonight on behalf of We Love Oakville Stop Amalgamation Group. Our group has come together very solidly, I must say, against any sort of move against amalgamation, or any move for amalgamation. At present, we represent 8 residents associations. Chartwell, Maple Grove, some of the representatives are here if they want to wave or stand. Chartwell, Maple Grove, Joshua Creek, Oakville Lakeside, Trafalgar Chartwell, West Harbor, West River, Clearview Oakville Community Alliance, and the newly formed, welcome to them all, North Oakville Ward 7. So we have a residents association now north of the QEW. As well, late last week, we heard from the Oakville, the Downtown Oakville BIA board, who voted unanimously to join our campaign. So we're very happy to have them on board. Many other groups have shown great interest in what we're doing, and we expect to have many, many other groups on board very quickly. We are reaching out to every organization, every community organization in Oakville. We want to have as many people as we can joining us. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Our webpage is up and will soon be fully populated. We have a GoFundMe page, and we've already raised thousands of dollars if we need it to make this campaign a reality. We're easy to find if you want to go and look for us or at us on social media. Just look up We Love Oakville Stop Amalgamation, and we're very easy to find. Our plan is to let everyone in Oakville know that amalgamation is not a good idea. I want to start out, I know there's a resolution coming before council tonight. I want to start out saying that we're strongly in favor of the resolution, and anything we can do to help the town fight this, please just let us know. Amalgamation will be costly. It will cost us money. It will cost us in loss of local decision making. And it will cost us in our quality of life and efficiency of services. Simply put, amalgamation doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. First, we can't afford it. Studies have shown that costs rise after amalgamation, with more expensive bureaucracies and higher property taxes. Second, our current system works well. Why fix it if it isn't broken? We already have affordable, efficient services from the town and the Halton region, as well as strong, effective representation. We're actually going to say some nice things about the council today. Third, amalgamations don't bring any benefits. Evidence from so many studies show over and over that amalgamations don't save money or improve services. In fact, the opposite is true. Amalgamations bring years of service disruption and a loss of local decision making. Let me quote one of those studies, and I'm sure everyone on council has read it. If not, you should. It's according to the 2015 Fraser Report study, and I'm quoting here, study after study has found that the benefits of municipal amalgamation have failed to materialize. Costs generally increase after amalgamation, largely due to harmonization of costs and wages. Increases in service efficiency remain elusive. And it continues. Mounting evidence suggests that past amalgamations in Ontario have not led to more efficient service production or delivery. The exercises did not result in cost savings or lower property taxes. Rather, they found that significant increases in property taxes, compensation for municipal employees, and long-term debt, suggesting, and I quote, there was no tangible financial benefit from amalgamations. This is exactly what has happened in more recent amalgamations in Haldimand County, in Kawartha Lakes, in Norfolk, and many more before them. We know that our local government works well for us, protecting the character of our stable residential neighborhoods and heritage against overbuilding. Control over our future will be considerably weaker in a much larger municipality where bylaws would likely be watered down as local legislation is merged. The Oakville official plan will be jeopardized, negatively affecting control over our future development. The town of Oakville maintains and protects our green spaces and public parks. We will lose our ability to make local decisions on our land use. The performance-based budgeting that's used here has served Oakville well, keeping taxes relatively low while greatly improving services. We value the local tax levels, asset management, and financial rating achievements. All this could be lost. Our town councillors, you are our community champions and our voice. Well, our regional councillors already ensure we're getting value for shared services. They all work. Well, most of them work most of the time, and we'll leave it at that. We truly appreciate that we have a responsive local government with easy access to our council members. That will surely end with fewer elected councillors representing many more people over much larger areas. Oakville operates a consensus model that encourages engagement between residents and the town. That model won't continue when determining budgets, taxes, and enhanced community services. We value the diversity of local voices, local choices, local land use, planning, and service levels. This will also likely be lost in an enlarged municipality. We are proud that Oakville is recognized as Canada's best place to live. The quality of our services would surely decline with amalgamation. Essential services would be put in jeopardy. Fire and transit systems would be directly affected, as they operate at 4 very different levels of service across the 4 municipalities, reflecting our varying populations and demand. Funding for our community centers and libraries would likely be affected negatively. Public programming and services, like community classes, workshop, and special events, wouldn't have the same level of funding or support. And our Chamber of Commerce and local business improvement areas would struggle with identity and purpose. Where it makes sense, we have already combined services with our neighboring municipalities. Under the region of Halton, police keep us safe at a low cost. Combined water, waste management, wastewater, and other services are more economical. Everyone can benefit from the economies of scale and save tax dollars without negative effects on our local governance. Residents support our present two-tier system of government. 97% of Halton residents are satisfied with the quality of regional services, and 98% rate the quality of life in Halton as very high. Our region is an effective two-tier government recognized for its strong financial position, safe communities, natural environment, progressive approach to urban development, and reliable and citizen-focused services. There is significant evidence that Halton Region, together with our local municipalities, is effective and meets the needs of people in Halton under its current structure. This is not a fight that any of the residents' associations want, but it's one we feel we must fight. Amalgamation makes no sense. Evidence has shown that it hasn't worked before. It doesn't cut spending or bring efficiencies, as we're being told, and will end up costing us so much more than just money. Thank you. We support your resolution, and we look forward to not having a fight, but I think we will. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan, very much for those kind remarks and those very on-point remarks. Council, if there's no objection, why don't we pull item 4 up to this point? Because I'm not aware of any other delegations on this matter, and it would be a courtesy to our residents' associations if we dealt with it now. Are there any speakers to the motion? Councillor Duddick?
This is your motion, I believe, Mayor Burton. I'd like to thank the mayor for putting forth this motion for our consideration, and I am personally in full support of his motion. For myself, the issue of fair representation is a large component when discussing changes to our municipal and regional government. In 2011, the town of Oakville commenced a ward boundary review to reflect the impending growth in the town. I would remind everyone that the growth we are facing is being legislated by the provincial government and not at the request of the residents of Oakville. Both the town and the region needed to assure residents that they would continue to have fair and effective representation in preparation for the province's mandated growth. The changes that were made to our ward boundaries and our regional representation reflected the federal standard as an acceptable percentage variation in population size among our wards. After considerable consultation and hiring Dr. Robert Williams to facilitate the review, a final recommendation was unanimously endorsed by Council in November 2016. For those of you who may not have been part of the process, Dr. Williams is an independent consultant who is a leading Ontario authority in the area of municipal electoral systems. Halton Regional Council also underwent a review and subsequently approved an additional seat for the town of Oakville and 2 for the town of Milton. Approval of that increase to regional representation met the triple majority criteria outlined in the Municipal Act, meaning that a majority of regional council plus a majority of the lower tier councils, Oakville, Burlington, Halton Hills, and Milton, have passed a resolution in support of those changes. The big question we have to ask ourselves is if we already have undergone a recent municipal and regional review of our representation in Oakville, Burlington, Milton, and Halton Hills. at considerable cost to taxpayers to conduct the reviews and renovate both the council chambers. Why then is the provincial government even remotely considering changes to our Halton structure? As Ted so eloquently put, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Thank you, Councillor Dudek. Anyone else? Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for putting this motion forward. When we sort of got wind of all of this happening, we've had a lot of discussions about it, and it seems like low-hanging fruit to go after the way that the governance structure is accomplished. But as we've seen in reports, as we've seen through discussions, they tend not to save money. In fact, what it does is it'll drive costs up. They just get hidden and become less accountable to the people who are tasked to do the work. This will not save money, these changes, and in fact, what really does drive efficiencies is the processes and the changes. And as municipalities, one of our job is to deliver the programs and services on behalf of the provinces, and we do get bogged down with a number of their hurdles that they make us jump over. Oakville as well has some of the highest levels of service with the lowest amount of taxes in the region. Any move to amalgamate when we reset that bar means lower services for Oakville and higher taxes no matter how you cut it. So I fully endorse and support the resolution and thank all my council colleagues for their time and consideration on this issue as well.
Thank you, Councillor O'Meara, for your support. Anyone else? Councillor Adams?
I fully endorse the motion that's before us. I thank all of the residents groups that have come forward today. It's very, very important that members of the public have done what they've done. Over the last couple of days, we've also been inundated by literally hundreds of emails in support of our position around not moving forward with any kind of amalgamation. The issues that have been spoken about already today around maintaining our own local control, I think, are incredibly important for our community, and it really is all about what Oakville is. And if you're from a different municipality, it's what your local community is about as well. So it isn't only just about what Oakville is, it's about what Burlington is and what Milton and Halton Hills are for their communities and for their local neighborhoods. The ability to choose what the characteristic of your local neighborhood looks like is really what your neighborhood is all about. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the recorded vote.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Next speaker, Councillor Elger.
I'd just like to thank the mayor for putting the resolution forward. I think everyone is aware that amalgamation costs money. It is not a money-saving tactic, and I think it's time that we do work for the people. And these are the residents that are paying the taxes, and not just a few people. But this is an important issue, and I hope that everyone in Ontario and municipal councils has something to say on this, because it's a bad decision. It'd be great if it worked and did cut money, but everywhere it's been tried, the costs have increased. So, and I would ask for a recorded vote at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Councillor Elger. I have a couple of remarks to set the context, and I've been requested to read the motion out, and I'll do that as well. There's been a huge outpouring of citizen concern about the threat to our way of life by the province's study of municipal amalgamation. Council and I want to thank all of the engaged citizens who have contacted us about the amalgamation threat. We've received hundreds and hundreds of emails, and they don't seem to be letting up either. And that's very encouraging, and we're very grateful for that. That kind of messaging is very valuable to council. The engagement of our community is what makes Oakville the safe and caring community and town that it is, and your engagement is what can save our town. My friend and our former mayor, Harry Barrett, would always say, Oakville is a city that calls itself a town and acts like a village. Today, the future of this city that calls itself a town is at risk. The provincial government has appointed a two-man review of the 8 regional, 2 county, and 1 district governments in Ontario. That's a total of 82 municipalities. Oakville and the rest of Halton Region are included. To quote the government press release from January 15th, they are doing this, quote, to help ensure these municipalities are working effectively and efficiently and can continue to provide the vital services that communities depend upon, unquote. The government has not said why it has exempted the other 381 municipalities from this study. The terms of reference for the study ask whether two-tier structures are appropriate for municipalities with regional governments, or if there should be amalgamations or reallocations of services. We already have the ability to make such changes in cooperation with our neighboring partner local municipalities, Burlington, Halton Hills, and Milton, and that I'm referring to moving services around, whether they're lower or upper tier. We have transit at the local level because each of the 4 municipalities prefers a different standard of transit service. We have waste collection every week at the regional level because we've all agreed that it's more efficient to do it that way. Rather than the study that the province has embarked upon, we could wish that the government would just read the report that is now more relevant than it was when it was originally released in 2015 by the Fraser Institute that Ted quoted. And what it found was that property taxes increased, promised savings never materialized, amalgamation led to a more distant and expensive local government and a lower quality of service for residents, and amalgamation made local government less local and less responsive. Being responsive means local plans and local budgets that respect the local needs of the local town or city. Being responsive means respecting our local desire to control growth and protect green space. Amalgamation will weaken, if not destroy, our ability to guide growth with a made in Oakville vision. Our two-tier structure of a region and a town allows us to work cooperatively with our neighboring municipalities on big services and to keep local preferences alive and respected for the services our residents prefer. We've always worked to eliminate duplication and create efficiencies in this very building at Regional Council to serve the residents of Halton Region, and we've done it well. Together, all 4 municipalities have cooperated as a regional government to maintain total tax increases at or below the rate of inflation, to become and stay the safest region in Canada for 12 years, and obtain and keep a AAA credit rating, which not even the province has, and a 98% approval rating on customer service, which I have to note the province also does not enjoy. We are a model for other regions. Frankly, we collaborate better than the province's various ministries do. Halton's two-tier system of government should be celebrated, not eliminated. A 98% approval rating of the region's performance should assist our local members of provincial parliament to promote our record and successes to the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and defend our current two-tier system of regional government. Our local MPPs can also remind the Premier and the Minister that less than a year ago, Oakville was named Canada's Best Place to Live by Money Sense magazine, going from 30th to first place in the span of about 12 years. This provincial review for amalgamation was never discussed by the government or our local MPPs during the recent provincial election. There has yet to be any public consultation with Oakville residents by the Review Advisory Board, the provincial government, or our local MPPs. I thank our local news media for working so hard to get the story out. The government's consultation plan directs the public to fill in a form on a website that no one knows about and isn't even ready. As the word spreads, I hope Oakville residents will contact our local MPPs to voice your concerns or ask questions about this review. Instead of looking for problems that do not need fixing, the province could instead focus on the things they can do to do their job better. A few days ago, Dennis Timbrell, a former Minister of Municipal Affairs in 2 progressive conservative governments, wrote a concise summary of the amalgamation review on Facebook. He wrote, and I quote, "Speaking as a former Minister of Municipal Affairs, I will say that this would be a complete waste of time and resources when so many other serious issues require the attention of the provincial government." Unquote. In one concise Facebook comment, former Minister Timbrell has captured the spirit of this evening's resolution. This resolution makes the point that the people of Oakville should have a say in their future. As long as we can, this council will oppose any measures that increase taxes or the cost of government for Oakville residents through amalgamation. We will defend our livable Oakville vision that controls growth, protects green space, and delivers the quality and reliability of services that residents rely on and that we have become celebrated for, thanks to the healthiest municipal finances in the province. Thank you for letting me share those remarks with you, and this is the resolution. Whereas the Government of Ontario has announced a review of Ontario's 8 regional municipalities, the County of Simcoe, and their lower tier municipalities by appointed special advisors, and whereas the provincially appointed advisory body will develop recommendations for the minister for the purpose of improving governance, decision-making, and service delivery in the regions and Simcoe County and their lower tier municipalities, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario informed its members that last August, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing began informal discussions wishing to hear from people about how this system of governance is working, recognizing it was established in the 1970s. And whereas the provincially appointed advisory body has included in the review consideration of moving to single-tier municipalities or amalgamating existing municipalities, and whereas neither the provincial review nor amalgamation was ever discussed during the recent provincial election by the Premier or our local members of provincial parliament, and whereas 81% of residents are satisfied with the government of the town of Oakville, 89% are satisfied with the town of Oakville services, and 85% are satisfied with the town's attributes, and whereas 97% of residents are satisfied with the quality of regional services, and whereas the town of Oakville has a history of finding efficiencies and savings while enhancing programs, services, and facilities, most recently in our last budget, and whereas the town of Oakville has contributed to Halton Region's AAA credit rating for 29 years, and whereas Halton is a model of municipal efficiency through service agreements between municipalities and the region, and 98% of Halton residents rate their quality of life very high, and whereas Oakville is recognized as Canada's best place to live, and whereas in the 16 municipal elections since the 1974 creation of our 2-tier system of municipal governance, no one has run, much less been elected, to change the structure of municipal government in Oakville, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Oakville endorses the current effectiveness of our 2-tier municipal government as it has evolved on mutual agreement with our partner lower municipalities since its foundation in 1974, and that the residents of Oakville value their choices, voices, and diversity of representation, and residents should have their say before any change in municipal representation or possible merger with other municipalities. And that is the resolution. And there's one little extra piece, that this resolution be forwarded to all Halton municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and made publicly available for the other 81 municipalities subject to this review. And with that, I'll ask councillors who wish to be recorded in support of the motion to rise to be named. Oh, and I'm sorry, it's seconded by Councillor Giddings. I held that out on you there, but thank you for reminding me. Councillor Palmer, Councillor Lischina, Councillor Adams, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Longo, Councillor Elger, Councillor Haslett-Thiel, Councillor Giddings, Councillor Chisholm, Councillor Duddick, Councillor Robertson, Councillor O'Meara, and Mayor Burton. I declare the resolution carried unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing your Now, the next part is to remember where I am in the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is our next delegation, Mr. Stephen Paquette, and he's here to talk about the new business item, a notice of motion regarding flying the Indigenous flag for Town Hall. And that motion is being presented as a notice of motion tonight, moved by me and seconded by Councillor O'Meara. And it'll be taken up at the next meeting of our council. And is Mr. Paquette here? No, we're stepping in for him. Oh, we have substitutes. Oh, welcome, and we look forward to your information.
Hello, my name is Beverly Francois, and I'm here representing WHAM, Women of Halton Action Movement. November of last year, WHAM wrote to you and requested that the town of Oakville should fly an Indigenous flag because it's only right. It is their land. And you took it to council. Oh, so we requested it. You sent it to committee. And I want you to know that everybody at committee supported it 100%. And so tonight we're asking you to, and I'm sure you will support this. And I just wanted to say thank you. And WHAM was so supported by everybody that we spoke to, and especially the collaboration of groups in Oakville, who Sherry Seville is going to tell you something about.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Seville, and I'm the Indigenous Education Advisor for Halton Catholic District School Board. And we also share an Indigenous Advisory Committee with both the Halton Catholic and the Halton District School Board. So we've been doing this kind of work within our community, in our schools, for well over 10 years to educate people, especially with the honoring of the land, which you did so wonderfully this evening. In all of our schools, the honoring of the land is in our schools, and we're wanting people to be reminded of the land that they walk on, the land that was somebody else's territory prior to colonization, the land that was here for time immemorial, and the people that walked upon this land. It's important and incumbent upon the council to have a flag that is representative of the Mississaugas of the Credit, because that is the community whose land that Oakville resides on. Like you said earlier, you're on Treaty 14, Treaty 22, I believe, and Treaty 23. And so just for that reason there alone, and in spirit of the Truth and Reconciliation, we would request that a flag be flown at the town of Oakville. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What our procedure means is that we'll have the vote at the council meeting on April 2nd.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know that we just found out about this today, so we would have filled this place tonight.
Well, perhaps on April 2nd you can come
So
back.
invite us in April.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm hopeful that by waiting till April 2nd, Mr. Paquette can also join us. And
Yes.
I know that he cares. He's an Oakville resident who's Indigenous and is very caring about this issue.
Yes, we were in contact with him today. He wasn't able to be here.
Right.
Thank you.
So thanks very much. All right, Council, the next business before us is the set of reports from the Standing Committee and Committee of the Whole. The Community Services Committee meeting of February 19th and the Administrative Services Committee meeting of February 19th. The confidential report of the closed session of the Administrative Services Committee of February 19th. And there is a revision to the recommendation, and that recommendation will now read for our motion that the confidential report of the closed session of the Administrative Services Committee February 19th be approved in accordance with the memo dated February 25th, 2019 from the Commissioner of Corporate Services. And we all owe a debt of thanks to Councillor Peter Longo for his sharp-eyed catch of the error there. And can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor O'Meara and Councillor Chisholm. May I put the vote? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimously. Council, I believe that brings us to the consent item number 1, which is the 2018 closed meeting statistics report. And there's a small correction, I believe, if I can find it. Oh, wait, I think it's under here. And so there's just comments. Item 1, 2018 closed meeting statistics on page 3 of the staff report, page 55 of the agenda should have read that Planning and Development Council had went into 2 closed sessions in the report period, not 3. And in Appendix A, page 57 of the agenda, under the column total number of closed sessions for 2018, the Administrative Services Committee should have read 2 instead of 1. I guess that averages out. Away. Take 1 away from 1 and add 1 to the other. So can I have a mover and seconder for the consent item? Councillor Elgar and Councillor Knoll. All those in favor? The consent items are adopted. We have no confidential consent items. And the next item is an opportunity for discussion. We have a new proposed Town of Oakville procedure bylaw. And the recommendation is that bylaw 2019-24, the Town of Oakville procedure bylaw, which replaces and repeals the former procedure bylaw 2016-059 as amended, be passed as revised in accordance with the memo dated February 25th from the town clerk to be effective as of March 6th, 2019. And on this item, there is a further recommendation.
It's just what's being changed.
So I'm going to read the red part, right? Does everybody have this?
Yes.
So everybody but the public? All right, so just to let the public in on this, in item one, in item 2, it is recommended that section 2 sub 9 sub A be revised to add text that was unintentionally removed during editing. And so the quote before the insert is, items of business for inclusion on any agenda shall be delivered which are sufficient to meet the requirements of council. So there was an omission of the words in accordance with the timelines established under corporate policy and procedure. So that makes it more intelligible. And section 210 will be revised to read, no person except members and employees of the corporation shall be allowed to come beyond the public seating area without permission of the chair. So the revised recommendation to address these revisions is that bylaw 2019-24, the Town of Oakville procedure bylaw, which replaces and repeals the former procedure bylaw 2016-059 as amended, be passed as revised in accordance with the memo dated February 25th from the town clerk to be effective as of March 6th. So if I haven't confused anybody, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Longo and Councillor Elgar, may I put the vote? All in favor? Thank you, everybody. That carries unanimously. Now we come to another discussion opportunity, and that is the Council Code of Conduct and Related Protocols Subcommittee Report. The recommendation is that the current Code of Conduct be rescinded and the Region of Halton's Code of Conduct with the necessary changes to the words Region of Halton to the Town of Oakville be adopted. That all future amendments to the Region of Halton's Code of Conduct be adopted subject to ratification by Town of Oakville Council. That Council adopt the Region of Halton's Council Employee Relations Policy with the necessary changes to the words from Region of Halton to the Town of Oakville, and that all future amendments to the Region of Halton's Council Employee Relations Policy be adopted subject to ratification for Town of Oakville Council. I need a mover and seconder to begin this. I'm looking for a mover and seconder first.
Okay.
I have your proposal. Councillor Chisholm moving, second by Councillor Knoll. Councillor Hazard-Deal has circulated some proposed amendments, and Councillor Hazard-Deal, it's now in order to present your amendments and comments.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. So I, having sat on the subcommittee and having spent some time looking at the region's employee relations policy and considered the opinion of some other councillors as well, I'm tabling this amendment. Now, would you like me to read it out for the entire? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody needs to know.
So I'm suggesting that we revise 2.0 A to read, for routine matters, members shall direct questions or concerns to the staff responsible for the work or service Oakville, with a CC to the director for the department. For non-routine matters in relation to administration or management of the town, members will direct their questions to the area directors with a CC to the commissioners and the CAO. Further to revise 2C, that members shall respect the employee time and limit it to no more than 2 hours. Where additional time is required, it will be the director's decision to determine if additional time is within the current council mandate. In the alternative, members may submit a request for report to council. Revised 2G, members shall advise commissioners or directors of questions or concerns in advance of council meetings, where possible, to support the provision of an informed, helpful response. In addition, add the following to the employee's roles and responsibilities. 3I, the employee shall work in partnership with council members by keeping them informed, either via my email or otherwise, of any concerns raised or actions taken, and shall provide advance notice of events and actions that may impact residents in their respective ward, and involve or update them on resident meetings requested with staff. And 3J, add employees shall advise their director where there are concerns regarding member requests that are extensive or overreaching. So those are the amendments I'm tabling for my colleagues' consideration.
Okay, these amendments are moved by Councillor Haslett-Deal and seconded by Councillor Giddings. Is there a discussion? Councillor Elgar.
I'd like to thank Councillor Haslett-Deal for doing this. I think we have a very competent professional staff at the town, and that we have a lot more important things to do than for our CAO to be a gatekeeper, because our staff are trained, and if they think something is important, that it should go to the CAO, I'm positive they will do that, because they are trying to do what is right for the town as a whole. And so I'm pleased to support what Councillor Haslett-Deal has come up with. I see this as nothing more than, at the very least, cutting red tape on the way through. So I thank her for bringing this forward, and I'd be pleased to support her amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Elgar. Other speakers? Councillor Duddick?
Thank you, Your Worship. I echo Councillor Elgar's comments and thank the mover and seconder of the amendment. I do think we're all adults and we can very easily monitor and make sure that the appropriate staff are copied on any correspondence or any emails that would be of concern. I see no reason why I have to go through a commissioner or director if I have a normal question where I'm working with a staff person on a project, i.e. through the Santa Claus Parade. I don't see any reason why I should be bothering Commissioner Bell when I'm dealing with a staff person. And as a result, I fully support the amendment.
Thank you. Others? Councillor Lischina.
Thank you, Your Worship. In the last 4 years that I've been part of council, I did find it helpful that the initial request was going through the CAO's office, considering I wasn't sure which staff member I really should direct this to. Now, from the standpoint of if that same issue comes up, then I don't go through the CAO, but the very first time that something does happen like that, I found it to be very helpful to go through the CAO's office. So I'm not in favor of 6A. Or, sorry, that would be 2A. Unless this doesn't actually stop me from going through the CAO's office. So if I could just get clarification on that, please.
Well, it's written in a way using the word shall that shall has a certain meaning, and this basically says you shall direct questions or concerns to the staff responsible for the work or service Oakville with a CC to the director. It could be. As a matter of fact, I have some other comments about the language in other parts where it could benefit from a little bit of work, if council is interested in this direction, but like the councillor just said, if you have any concerns about wording, one of your options is to refer this to another meeting or back to the committee to wordsmith it. Councillor Duddick?
I'd be pleased to refer it. My concern is doing things on the fly where we haven't had sufficient time to make sure that the wording is appropriate. I fully support the intent of what the councillor and the seconder are intending, but if somebody has concerns regarding shall versus another terminology, by all means.
Okay, that is seconded by Councillor Knoll. And a motion to refer takes precedence. Councillor O'Meara?
Just a question on the referral. Are we under any timelines for this? I thought we had a March 1st, no? And then I guess before we decide on the referral, we can always, this is a living document. We can come back to it at any time we believe. Is that right as well?
So we're referring the amendment.
Right.
We will then vote on the main motion, and by passing that, we'll be compliant.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So I'll call, procedurally, I should call the vote on the motion to refer. All those in favor to refer it back to the committee? Yes, sure.
So if I understand correctly procedurally, we would only be referring back the employee relations policy amendment that I've tabled, not the actual policy.
That's right. All that's on the floor right now is your amendment, and all that's being referred is your amendment.
So if we're referring the amendment back, why are we not referring the entire policy back?
A, because that's not the motion, and you don't need to. I would suggest to council, if asked, that you need to pass the main motion because that makes you compliant with the statute. And then after, assuming quick work by the committee, on April 2nd, we would have another council meeting and you would amend the policy.
So I guess my comment back to Councillor O'Meara had just asked if we were under a time constraint. So what I'm hearing is clarity that we must have an employee relations policy by March 1st.
That's right.
Okay. So procedurally, the deferrals on the floor to either be supported or denied, or can a secondary amendment go forward, which would be to accept the 3.3 with a change in terms of requiring it to be discussed by a certain date by the subcommittee and returned. Is there a difference in that?
Mr. Green, well, let me answer the question. You can't amend the motion to refer.
Okay.
And you're going to get it back quickly because there's nobody's interested in delaying the matter. And I think your concern about time is it's unnecessary, and I commit that we'll call the committee and we'll have the thing done.
So it'll be referred back to the committee and returned in April. Okay.
Mr. Green, do you have additional information?
It's for you, Mayor Burton. If you do approve the policy as it is tonight and you're referring the language back, I would also suggest you include in the main motion that any amendment that has been referred back not constitute the need to reconsider the initial approval, because you do run into that issue if you've approved something and then
you can't. That's procedurally not. That's not permissible. If it's contrary, it's reconsideration. If it's supplemental or adjusting,
well,
it's in order. And reconsideration is not an impossible thing to achieve.
No, I agree with that. I just looked at if you're approving, for example, 2A in the main one, 2A is amended, somewhat contrary. But I'll leave that in the hands of council.
I'm anticipating that it'll take the reconsideration vote, but I don't perceive that that'll be a problem. Everybody is in a spirit of goodwill. I'll call the vote on the motion to. Sorry, Councillor Adams.
My apologies. I just want to clarify. We're referring the entire set of amendments.
The proposed amendment is being referred back to the committee.
Thank you. I just wanted to be sure of what was being.
May I call the vote? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? The motion to refer carries. Thank you, everybody. Now, may I call the vote on the main motion? Your worship? Yes.
I just wanted to point out that the council employee relations policy that we have presented to us that for potential adoption tonight is not the latest version from the region. If you recall, we made amendments at the region, and they were not picked up. I'm just reading through the text.
Yes. But they don't need to be in order to be compliant. We just have to have the policy.
Okay.
So we can in the due course of time, exercise the Adams Gate, as we're calling it, where they're subject to approval by council.
I understand, but these are pretty simple little amendments. Could we not just make them on right now?
Amendments are now in order.
Okay. Then I would like to I move to amend the motion then?
Yes.
Okay, so 6.0 A would be amended by inserting the words "or designate" following CAO, and 6.0 J inserting the words "right to request or receive" following "greater." And the rationale behind that, it was picked up at the region because we adopted the same policy at the region, and so the term "or designate" would allow the CAO to designate two respective commissioners, etc., the ability to communicate with council members.
Yeah.
And it was CAO McCaskill said, of course, and it was no issue with her at the time, so that was a simple one. And the second one relates to council receiving confidential information that's not necessarily available to the public. Again, it was a catch that was made on the basis of that we do receive information that is not available to the public in the terms in our terms in blue paper. At the region it was yellow paper.
Yes.
So those two motions were accepted unanimously as housekeeping that I made that day.
Your housekeeping was very good that day. Everyone liked it.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Knoll has moved an amendment. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Giddings?
I'd be happy to second that. I'd also like to add to that, if I could. There was another amendment that I put forward under business relations that isn't shown.
To remove the word regularly.
Exactly.
0.9.
Yes.
So Jeff is moving all of that, including your suggestion, and you're seconding all of that, including your suggestion. Is everybody clear? Is everybody happy? The clerk is not?
It's right here.
We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you later. Right. So that's all in order. All in favor. Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you, everybody. Now, the next item is confidential discussion item C1, and this is personal matters about identifiable individuals. You have a report from the Commissioner of Corporate Services, February 5th, and I just did. Oh, sorry, you're right. So I gave you the mover and seconder for the main motion. I have to call the main motion now. All those in favor? And that's opposed, and that's carried. Now, C1. We need a mover and seconder for the confidential recommendation, and then I can tell the public what it is. Councillor Longo and Councillor Adams, all of those in favor? Thank you, everybody. I can now reveal that Nancy Sully has been appointed treasurer and Jonathan van der Heijden has been appointed deputy treasurer. The treasurer or designate shall approve all award reports after the finance department has confirmed budget availability according to the procurement policy bylaw, and that bylaw 2019-28 be passed and bylaw 2010-42 be repealed. And congratulations to both of you on this promotion, this honor. Now, there are no advisory committee minutes, and the information items are circulated electronically. I'm not aware, you have your report on status of outstanding issues, and I'm aware of some new business. Let me see if I can still find it. All right, where is it? Do you have any new business? Why do I think there's new business? Oh, right. Okay, so the new business is the motion that we discussed earlier with the delegation on the Indigenous flag, and that is the motion by myself and Councillor O'Meara, which reads, whereas through direction from Council, staff undertook investigation of all facets surrounding a request for an Indigenous flag to be permanently flown at Oakville Town Hall, and whereas a staff report was provided at the Administrative Services Committee meeting of May 22nd, 2018, and whereas the report outlined the cost to install a new flagpole at Town Hall to permanently display an Indigenous flag to be $4,500, and costs could be funded from contingency, and whereas by flying the flag, the town of Oakville would acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation as the traditional custodians of the land we inhabit, and whereas a letter was sent from Mayor Burton to Chief Laforme, February 4th, 2019, seeking consent to to raise the flag of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation at Oakville Town Hall on a permanent basis. And whereas via return mail, Chief R. Stacy Laforme provided such consent on February 8th, therefore be it resolved, in recognition of the consent provided by Chief Laforme and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, staff proceed to requisition and install a new fifth flagpole at Town Hall to permanently display the Indigenous flag, and Mayor Burton undertake a letter to Chief Laforme and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation to request such a flag, and following the installation of the flagpole, an appropriate recognition event be planned and undertaken with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation to acknowledge the permanent addition of the Indigenous flag to Oakville Town Hall. And as I said, that will come before council on April 2nd. And there is a request for report by Councillor Knoll, and that is titled Regulation of Vapor Product Businesses and Vapor Use in Park Areas, moved by Councillor Knoll and seconded by Councillor Lischina, that the staff report to the Community Services Committee by the end of the second quarter 2019 on the licensing and regulation of businesses selling vape, e-cigarette products within the town of Oakville, and the prohibition of the use of vapor products in park areas where the smoking of tobacco products is prohibited, as noted in Town of Oakville Bylaw 2013-013, paragraph 11, sub D. And may I put the vote? All those in favor of authorizing this request? Any opposed? Congratulations, your request is approved. Is there other business? Councillor Duddick.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a former student of Thomas A. Blakelock High School, I'm thrilled to extend my congratulations to the school's wind ensemble for winning gold at Carnegie Hall. The musicians who formed Thomas A. Blakelock Wind Ensemble returned from New York City, where they participated in an invitational concert band festival held on the stage of Carnegie Hall, and they represented both their school and Canada with the utmost passion and resolve, resulting in their earning a gold medal. Congratulations should also be in order to their conductor, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you very much, Councillor. It did make the town proud. Councillor Knoll.
I also have a matter of new business I just want to bring to everybody's attention. It doesn't probably come as a surprise that I'll take a moment to talk about film for a second, a topic near and dear to the mayor's and my heart, and I know all of you are film fans as well. But Oakville was able to celebrate greatness last night at the Academy Awards by our Oakville trained animator Domi Shi, who won the Oscar for Best Picture for the film Bayo, which is a short animated feature. So I know Sheridan College is ecstatic. Those of us that are film fans and members of the film community and the community are ecstatic. Congratulations to Domi and her team for making a film, and congratulations once again for yet another astounding success by our animation program at Sheridan College.
We've got a lot to be proud of in this town. Something to work to save. I don't know how many of you know about J.I. Anise Doherty, who is now celebrating 39 years at Doherty Law. And she, as I understand it, was once a member of this council and might even have been for a then called Ward 2, but I'm not sure if it's the same ward lines, because, you know, they've changed over the years. Once upon a time, somebody told me we had only 3 wards with 4 councillors per ward. Then we went to 6 with 2 per. You notice it's the same number of councillors. People like many voices and choices at council. Council, we now need the following. We need a mover and seconder for the bylaws. Councillor Lischina and Councillor Palmer. This is for the bylaws as listed in the agenda and as corrected, including 2019-28, which is confidential, but I've now read out. So we're all good on that. May I put the vote? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? The bylaws are adopted. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. It's been great working with you, and I hope we will be able to continue to do the people's work. We're adjourned.